spring morning, Valentine's Day. All right. If everybody's good to go, we'll start. I'll introduce, to lead us off, Cardinals Chairman, Mr. Bill DeWitt.
Thanks, Brian. Well, not a surprise. I think I've read what this is all about. But I'm very pleased to officially announce that John Mozeliak has agreed to continue his great work at the Cardinals for an additional 2 years beyond this year. So really a 3-year commitment, which we're very pleased about. As you all well know, we've had 15 winning seasons since he was named GM and then subsequently president of baseball operations. Prior to that, he had a big impact on success that we had under Walt Jocketty's regime. Grew up in really the Cardinals system from a front office standpoint. Did it all. Ran drafts, signed players, was involved in trades, and despite his youth, one of the longest tenured president of baseball ops or GMs in MLB. We're in a really good position. Won 93 games last year with some terrific veterans and young players who came through the system and graduated out of the minor leagues and made a big impact, and I know will make a continued impact in the future. The good news is that despite that success and movement of young players into leading roles with our current team, we still have a top-ranked farm system, and that's hard to do. It's hard to win and continue to develop, draft and develop at the same time. And Mo has created an environment and leadership with our front office from a baseball standpoint that has ensured, in my view, continued success as we move into the future. He has great people working under him and has done a terrific job on all fronts. So with that, I'll welcome John Mozeliak for another 3 years.
Well, first, thank you, Bill. You know, as I was thinking about what I want to say today, I came to one word, and it's I'm lucky. And you know, you think about all the different jobs you can have in sports and the type of people you work with. I happen to work with Bill DeWitt, who I think most people would agree is one of the best owners in all of sport. And so when you do what I do, having ownership support is critical to being able to create that successful model over time. Then you look at our front office. You know, I'm so fortunate to work with a group of just bright, innovative, creative people that are always challenging each other. And so, you know, I'm grateful for that. And then the other reason I'm super lucky is you think about our major league staff run by Ollie and his group. I mean, we all get along, we have fun. We don't always have to agree on stuff, but it's engaging. And then you look at what we've been able to accomplish on the player development side and the scouting side. You know, we have great people running these things, and we're having a lot of success with it. And so you certainly admire the group of people that we get to work with day in and day out. And it's also a privilege to work in the city of St. Louis. You think about a fan base that truly cares about the type of product you put on the field. You know, when you look at our market size relative to other cities in baseball, yet we still draw over 3 million. And, you know, I'd like to think that's not by accident, but I also understand that we're grateful for that support. So, you know, finally, as we look ahead, you know, the reason we agreed on this was we felt like stability was important. We looked at where we've been, what we're still trying to do. Our goal is to still win a World Series, and we're going to put our best foot forward on that. But we also are grateful for what we have below and how we continue to build on that. So, you know, I do think it's an exciting time. Bill touched on it. We have a very strong major league club. We have a really strong minor league system. You combine that with an outstanding scouting staff, it usually leads to a pretty successful model. So super excited about the next few years. I know there's going to be some change coming over the next few years. We certainly want to give individuals at the company and within the organization opportunities to grow. expand some of their roles, and over the course of the next year or so, we'll work through all of that. So at that, I'll take a few questions.
Mo, by my count, at the end of this new deal here, that'll be 30 years for you with the Cardinals. So you just sort of reflect on, I don't know, the meaningfulness of that milestone and what it means to you to have that long a duration of the franchise.
Well, I guess it's longevity usually means you're in a good spot, and you've created something that people feel it's worth bringing you back for. And I think about over my time with the Cardinals, I started at a entry-level position, and then to be sitting here next to Bill over that time, I think it speaks volumes for the opportunities I was given and was able to take advantage of those.
And Mo, as you navigate these next few seasons, how is the exorbitant spending of other teams going to possibly affect or not affect the way you guys handle your regime?
I skipped over a bullet point how I was going to be grateful to work with you guys for the next 3 years. And then second question, we're on payroll questions. So that was fast. I think Bill and I look at a lot of things when we make decisions on how we spend or how we invest. And I think the worst thing you want to do is just have a simple copycat model. Because someone's doing it, then you feel you have to do it, right? And so I think what we've done over the last 30 years is we do what we think's best for us. And I would imagine that model's not going to change. Now, people are going to say like, oh, geez, Bill and Mo are just satisfied with getting to October. No, we like the big shiny thing that you put on your ring finger. That's cool. Grabbing that trophy's amazing, and that's what we're going to strive for. But how we go about it might be a little different than some of our competitors.
What are the things that you wanted to see through when you look at all the stuff going on with your team right now, not just the Major League club, but on the horizon? How about how you build a rotation? The facilities changed here. Are there things you wanted to see through the thing?
It's like Bill and I were talking, through this over the last 7 months or so. One of the things that did definitely come to the forefront is some incomplete projects, if you will. And so, this being one of them, was a part of this back in '98, but now we're going to have an opportunity to see this get expanded and rebuilt. So there are some projects within that I just think would be helpful to still have me around for. And, ultimately, some of the things I do day to day, we're going to try to give other people some exposure to that over time. But, short term, you'll still get me for a little bit, but as we get deeper into this contract, there will be some changes.
That's something we talked about, what, 17, kind of broad decision tree.
Yeah, and a little bit of when you think about, like, the people I work with, just giving them a little bit more breadth of what they are involved in.
How does that set you up for the future then? If you can kind of have a transition, so does it allow you to maybe have a leadership in place, the stability you talked about?
Talking to me, yeah. Well, TBD, but we have excellent people under Mo who have really grown, and I think we've got a bright future from a personnel standpoint. Picking up on what he said about the ballpark, I remember how excited I was when I came over and looked at this property when it was just empty, and I met with the MacArthur Foundation, and sort of the dream of building a stadium, and now there's been that much time that it's going to be torn down. We're building another one, so I'm excited about the new Roger Dean Stadium as it'll develop, and continue obviously to be excited about our team and kind of our position. I think, as I said earlier, we're really in a great spot with our Major League club and the young guys who came up last year and did so well and not even counted in our farm system ranking.
Well, there's so many people that look only at championships, but the 15 straight winning seasons, I'm just proud of you taking that, and the fact that you've got 5 top 100 players coming. You've got a highly ranked minor league system that you can keep that going even longer.
Well, I think I have a couple thoughts on that. One is when you think about winning seasons, that's nice, but I think like the biggest thing over 15 years was we've never had the rebuild. We've never had the, tear it down, have a couple painful years, and then hope for the best on the end. And I think like when you're trying to appease a fan base, especially one that shows up in such numbers of 3 million and more a year, I think they're grateful for the type of product that we roll out there. And so look, we understand that the ultimate goal is to be the last man standing, but when you think about sort of that journey to get there, we do take a lot of pride in winning years.
I think one thing I would add to that is the winning years are great, and I think a key point is that we've played very few games over that period of time that were not meaningful. I mean, even when we, didn't make the playoffs, we were right in it to the end. So, we've got wonderful fans. They support us, and, it's our job to keep them interested and continuing to support us. So, I mean, I think that's something we don't think about too much, but it's a great record and tribute to the work that Mo and his staff have done.
Mo, I know you guys care about the fans. Obviously, they show up and are very loyal to you. So how do you strike that balance when fans are getting antsy that they want a little deeper run, and what you have to do in terms of best interest of the ball club, sometimes for the long run? How do you strike that balance from your position?
Well, I think that's just an odd argument in the sense of that, like, we, everybody in that building, everybody standing behind you, they want a long run, right? But like, just because you want it doesn't mean it happens, right? And I think like how we think about adding to our club or investing in our club is always about what can help us now, but how's that going to position us later? And there's two ways of attracting talent, right? And one is you can go out in the free agent market and acquire it, or you can go out and trade for it. And you think about like two of the best players in that clubhouse right now were traded for. Actually 3 if you count Adam Wainwright going way back. So the point being is like we're always looking at what those acquisitions might look like. And of course when you look at this past offseason when people were saying, oh, we should do X, Y, and Z, again, we were looking at it in terms of what's the incremental cost to do that versus what we have, and we felt like what we have is better than what we might go get. And so, that's the bet we're making, and we'll see. And we hope that the consistency of how we've performed over the years will give us a little bit of street credibility, or at least internal credibility, for that decision making.
Was it an
When you look at where this team is progressing from now to 2025, what do you think excites you the most about it?
Well, I think the most exciting thing we have is obviously we have an amazing core on our Major League club right now, but we also have some dynamic players coming up through our system. So, the key will be how do we augment that? Where do we do that? Is it free agent? Is it trade? But it's a great foundation to build on. And so when people ask me, like, am I excited about 2023? Yeah, but I'm also excited about 2025. I mean, there's a lot to be excited about here with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Was this an easy decision for you? If it wasn't, can you take us through your thought process in committing to another 3 years?
Yeah, so I think, like Bill would agree, I love my job. Like, I love what I do, but there's parts of me that wondered, like, if there was something else I could be doing in my life. And I look back at the last 15 months, and those were some difficult times internally with some things. And overall, like, Bill and I, we just continued to talk through some stuff. And, ultimately about a week ago, we came to this agreement that it was probably just best I remain where I am, and happy to do it.
Well, might be awkward because I'm sitting right beside you, but we look back to October 2007 and sort of the bridges that had to be built within the organization, the men, the front office. Can you describe kind of the leadership you've seen from Mo over the last 15 years that have included winning seasons or World Series, but also the sanctions, the penalties from MLB after the Astros situation, and all that, just how he kind of kept things intact for y'all?
Yeah, well, when we made a change after the 2007 season, it was controversial, as you might imagine. If you go back and look at the clips, they weren't that necessarily favorable from my perspective. But, I was convinced that despite a run of success, and I was there through the whole thing, I knew how it was built, that's a tough model to continue. It was a tough model to continue, and I felt that we needed someone who could take us in a different direction and be all in from a analytics standpoint, player evaluation standpoint, financial standpoint. And I did a search, and at the end of the day, Mo emerged, didn't emerge, but he was the leading candidate. We were able to have him be the head of the organization from a baseball standpoint. And, over that long period of time, from then 15 years to now, he's really done a terrific job in building a culture, attracting people, taking risk. We're in a risk business. We just are. You sign a long-term contract, a player gets hurt, you're stuck, or doesn't perform. So you have to weigh all of that, and it's not an easy job. And he's really, hit the ground running because he'd been assistant GM, but still, there was a big learning curve, and the game changed too. So, he really adapted to that and went full bore, and where we are, which is a great run of success, and I think extremely well positioned for the future. And I've said that a lot of years, and it's played out. So I think that answers your question. You might have one other thing there.
Just about maybe the presence you brought too.
Going through the
there
difficulty.
Were some turbulent years in there where you could have, the organization needed a steady hand.
Yeah, obviously we had some things over the years, the hacking scandal, and we had to flip to a new setup there to run our draft, which was difficult, and there have been other things that have occurred along the way where I think Mo's got a very, as you said, steady hand, and we have a problem, let's fix it. And that's his mentality. It's not like, oh, what do I do now? He figures out what to do. I know he's highly respected for those who work for him, the whole operation there. It's changed a lot in 15 years. We've got, how many people do we have in our analytics department?
I think 19 now.
19. And baseball ops has grown too, tremendously. So that's not an easy job to grow your people while you're trying to do your day job, which is putting the best team on the field. And he's managed to do that. Highly regarded and respected by those who work for him, and that's part of the job.
Mo, in an industry where this kind of stability is hard to find, what does it mean to you personally to be afforded the opportunity to kind of be able to have this contract, have the transition, have a hand in deciding how you want this to go? What does that just mean to you from a personal perspective?
Well, I think, first of all, it's a reflection of our relationship, and it's more than just 15 years, but over that time, we sort of understand each other. There's an ebb and flow between us. I think back to my younger days, I used to always go in on Saturdays on the off season. It might surprise you, but he was in Cincinnati in his office on a Saturday, and so I think that kind of helped us connect and grow together. But we've experienced a lot between the two of us. Obviously, there's been a lot of highs and lows in this period, but I think it's really just mutual respect, and I think look, we both value stability. If he didn't, I'd have probably been long gone, but here we are, and the people that we've worked with and associate with, I think have great appreciation for that as well. So I guess to answer your question, I think it's a compliment and one that I think we're both proud of.
Bill, oftentimes when we talk to players about legacy and future honors and what that might mean, they get a little uncomfortable with it. So I'm going to ask you, instead of asking Mo, where you place him sort of in the grander scheme of Cardinals history and what he's meant to the franchise and what it would mean for Mo to be a guy who has a red jacket on one day on the field.
Well, that's a very good point. So I'm not going to announce him in advance, but he certainly has the credentials to be among that group. For one thing, he acquired bunch of those players that we're now honoring. And, you know, I think it was a good thing back when we started the Hall of Fame. And, you know, the Cardinals have such a rich history that I was fortunate to be able to inherit when I came on the scene. And, you know, as I said at the time and continue to say it, my job is to keep it going. I mean, Cardinals are a great franchise, and, you know, built way back in the early 20s, even before. And, you know, it's been an organization admired forever. And the last thing we want to do is, you know, stop that continued growth. So you can be sure we're making every effort to continue to, you know, do what it takes to have the Cardinals as admired as they were when we acquired the team.
Bill, when you look at Mo's resume, there's so many accomplishments. I want to ask specifically about the winning of the World Series in 2011. Can you put into words the importance of that being on his resume as you go forward?
Well, yeah, you know, you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. 2011 was just an incredible run at the end of the season. And I can't imagine any more excitement than what happened towards the end of the year there. But, you know, to get there, there were a bunch of deals made, and they played out, and were a big part of why we got where we got. I remember when the David Freese deal was made, we talked about it. You know, who could have known or guessed, but, you know, without David Freese doing what he did, you know, really incredible thing. So, yeah, 2011 was special. It'd be nice to have another one of those special years this year or sometime in the near future.
Well,
I think when you moved to president, we talked a lot about since then about how you edge spending. Obviously, there's a lot of attention. The draft has also changed. A lot of teams are now doing things that you and others were doing earlier. What are some of the challenges ahead? What's the horizon?
I mean, for me, I think the biggest short-term challenge is sort of managing this arms race, right? Like when you think about what's happening in baseball, there's so much being invested in infrastructure of how you think about, like, from drafting, from development to training to performance, and I think that's, you know, everybody's got to be a little careful, but everybody has to do what they think's best for them or their organization, and so, you know, that's one of the things I just sort of want to understand and work through with our team and our group, because there's a lot of things people are chasing right now, and they're chasing that for that edge, for that advantage. And, you know, I think one of the things that we've always been really good at is we walk before we run. We have an understanding of what that looks like, and I think over the last year or so, we may have gotten off a little track on that, and I want to get back on that and just make sure that we have a very laser focus on what's next.
There are some teams that can spend on a project and move on because the market size, revenue size of the Cardinals, maybe have to make choices, you know, are going to be the right ones for that investment. Is that part of this challenge?
Well, I think it goes back to the last 20 years. I mean, we're always looking to make sure we're making those right investments and making sure we're investing in the right people to do it.
Part of the experiment.
Well, I mean, I think there's always that time for, you know, a little bit of open collaboration and willing to try things. But as you can imagine, as your group gets bigger, you get more ideas. And more ideas become the larger arms race or the chase. And so, you know, just sort of understanding where we really feel this group needs to go, I think is sort of next for us.
well, when we would talk to Yachty and Albert about legacy, they said that it was what goes on after they leave. If it stays the same after they leave, then that's a real legacy. How much pride do you take in that you've got the organization set up, even if you left in 2025, that it's able to be successful after that?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to answer that question because I'm not leaving today.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it's a compliment whenever you can keep things rolling, right? Again, in the last 15 years, we really haven't had to take that time out or step backwards. We've been able to keep progressing, and, you know, that's the hope of this organization, and that's the vision we have for the future.
You mentioned the changes and other people getting to step up. Have those conversations privately already started happening with other people in the organization?
Not really, but as we were thinking of the next few years, I think it's critical that we have a strategy in place and what that looks like. And it doesn't necessarily mean like the who's next, but it gives people more expanded responsibilities in their roles, gives them more opportunity to see how things are done. Perhaps maybe the easiest way to say it is a little bit more of a look behind the curtain on what I do daily.
Any last ones? I know they want to get out and watch some baseball.
Actually, I'm just hot.
Sun's tough.
Thank you.
Good? All right, thank you.
Congratulations, Bo.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sweating.